everyone, and welcome back to this channel. My name is Miranda and I make sewing tutorials for those of you who are new, so stick around if you like sewing and sewing crafts and that kind of a thing. So today we'll be making this beautiful sheer top. It's kind of it's an off shoulder, but it's got some shearing over the shoulder, and it's also got some ruching by the sides. So if you'd like to learn how to make this blouse, please stay tuned and watch until the end. I'll see you in our next video. Let's get into our tutorial. Okay guys, let's get right into the tutorial. So like I said, we're making that shade off shoulder top that you've seen on the thumbnail. I have here with me about 1.5 meters, and this is fabric that I'd used for a certain project, so this is the remainder of it. So if you're on the bigger side, maybe you should consider cutting or using at least 2 meters, especially if you're going to have sleeves for yours. Okay, so I have folded this fabric into 4. You can see it's 1, 2, and then 3, 4, because we're going to cut the front and the back at the same time, or we're going to cut the back and the front in the same way. So really, I just decided to do it the faster way. Okay, so I've put the fabric on 4 folds. Okay, and we need to decide how off you want your blouse to be. Okay, so you would normally cut off around 4 or 5 inches. So I'm going to be taking off 4 inches, okay, from the shoulder. Okay, so I've put my tape this way, 4 inches off. And then, so actually, you know, just to get a reference, let me draw a line here. I hope this will be visible. Let me just draw a reference line for us so that it's easy. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a random line all the way up to the edge. I hope you can see it. Okay, so I'm taking off 4 inches. Okay, so you place your tape like that because you want it to be off shoulder. If you want your off shoulder to be really off, maybe you can take off 5. It depends on how much flesh you want to show off, you know, at the top of your blouse. So I'm taking off 4 inches, and the total length of my blouse is 28 inches. Okay, so that is inclusive of the seam allowance. So from 28 inches we have removed the 4 inches at the top, so you're going to have 24 inches that's remaining. So I need to mark that. So just determine the length of your top. So after removing that 4 inches, we're going to have 24. Okay, I'm just making this so that you can see. Okay, so we have the length of the blouse. It's on 4 folds. Mine is 24 inches because we have subtracted 4 inches to make it off shoulder. Okay, so at the edge where the open sides of the fabric are, this is where we're going to be marking our armhole. But before I come to that, I want you to also know that I took, so this is about 19 3/4 for the width. Okay, it's 19 3/4. So this is what is going to help us ruche, or to create the smoking. Okay, so you need to have extra. Okay, so it's 19 and it's on fold, so it's a lot of fabric that you are going to be taking in when you start the smoking. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And then at the end of the opening of the fabric, remember you have already taken out 4 inches. This one too. We've already taken out 4 inches, so I've also left like half an inch at the top here for folding allowance. Okay, so you want to measure depending on your armhole. My armhole is 16, so half of that is 8. So we've already taken off 4 inches. So I'm also going to be marking the 4-inch mark. Okay, and then from there we're just going to slope for our armhole. Okay, so you mark your armhole. Remember, we have taken off 4 inches and I've left about ½ inch for folding allowance because we're going to be folding the top part of it. So from there, I'm just taking 4 inches down. So from this 4 inches to the 8, because my armhole is 16. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. So this is where my 8 inches mark would be if you were to measure it all the way, but we are only taking half of it because half is already taken out by the off shoulder that we're making. Because I want to use the entire fabric, what I've done is I'll just come in, maybe what I'll do is just come in maybe by 4 or even 3.5 inches from the edge, because I want to create our armhole. Okay, otherwise, if you had the entire fabric that is being left over from that point, what you would do is you measure how much you want to use for your shoulder line, including the smoking allowance or the ease allowance, and then you would draw this line at a point where your measurement ends. So for example, if you were going to take, let's say, 16 inches including your sharing, so 16 inches is here. Let me do it this way so you can see. So actually this is 16 inches. So imagine you were going to take 16 inches. You would just draw this line down there and then you slant it to create your armhole. Okay, so from here I'm just slanting to that corner there to create the armhole. I hope you can see. Okay, so that's it. The next thing is just to cut our blouse off. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly chop this off. Okay, so we have something like this, but I also need to open up the top here because we were cutting the front and the back at the same time, so that we have 2 pieces. Okay, so at this point we have these 2 pieces, and I've gone on to open this part, no? Because we were cutting the front and the back. So you can see we have our armholes, our armhole on this side and the other armhole. So this is both the front and the back. They've been cut in the same manner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the machine on the wrong side. This is my wrong side, and I'm going to join the sides. Okay, I'm just going to stitch all the way, join the sides before we can do the smoking. So just stitch ½ inch all the way down and then do the same for the other side. So from the armhole you stitch all the way down. Okay, and again I'm going to cut off some strips so it will be 2 on each side, and we're going to be placing, so what you do is, let me measure how wide is this. Okay, this is my smoking thread, I'll show you. Okay, so this is about 4.5 inches. Okay, so we're going to be stitching these 1/2 inch and then turn them to the right side. And after that, after we've gone on to stitch the sides of our blouse, we'll be placing so here now I've gone on to join the sides, so the front and the back, I just joined it at the sides. Okay, joined it at the sides, and I also went on to hem the edges, so I just folded it once and then twice and then made a straight stitch all around. Okay, before you hem the bottom, after joining the sides, make sure you overlock. I didn't overlock mine, but you can go ahead to overlock yours. You can use an overlocker, you can use a zigzag stitch or any finishing. You can use a pinking shears, that would still work. Okay, so after joining the sides, hemming the bottom, I also went to create a channel on the sides. Okay, so I created this channel because we are going to be passing our drawstrings from there, so we're going to do this on both sides. So I did that on one side. I just want to show you how it's done. Okay, so I think I marked 6 inches from the armhole. Let me just confirm that. It's actually 5 inches from the armhole. So I measured 5 inches from the armhole. And I took a piece. So from the armhole, from the armhole opening, I went down 5 inches. So I just put a pin there. I hope you can see it. I went down 5 inches, and from that 5 inches we have about 13 3/4. So I have a strip that I made here. This is about 2 inches, and I folded it in 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, this one I cut this. I folded it in 1/2 inch, and I went on to stitch the top there, and I did the same to the other end, and I just drew a straight line in the center. This is just as a guide, okay, to act as a guide, so you can place it there. Okay, and you are going to stitch by the edge. Don't stitch the top and the bottom, so you just stitch by the top stitch by the edges, and then you stitch in this line, on this center line that we have drawn. Okay, so this will create 2 channels through which we are going to be passing our string. Just use a pin to channel it through in, and when it comes out from here, you put it in to come out on the other side. So I have 2 of these strings which will go in on both sides. I also went on to stitch and turn the straps that will act as our, I need to remove this pin here. I made some strips, okay, that will be used as our sleeve. Okay, so I have 4. This was about 2.5 inches. We stitched it, okay, and then flipped it to the right side. So I have 4, 2 on each side, and these are going to be placed by the edge of your armhole. Okay, from the shoulder line, maybe leave about an inch, because you're going to need to fold the top for hemming. So yeah, about 1.5 inches there you can leave, because you'll be, or 1 inch, you'll be folding it this way at the top, and then you place your sleeve this way. Okay, and I'm going to be using a bias, because I want the edges to be clean. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I hem the top is to place these straps like this. Actually, we'll place them on the right side, and then I'm going to use a bias, okay, this is a bias tape, to fold them. And I'll show you when I'm at the machine, but we'll be doing this on the right side. Okay, I'm just trying to explain here. So you would place it this way and stitch on that fold. Okay, stitch on that fold all the way around, and then would flip it to the other side. But I'll show you how to do that when we are at the machine. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this channel. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this channel. Okay, top stitch, and I'll be doing this on the inside of the fabric. So top stitch there, top stitch on the other side, and then top stitch at the center. And then I'll show you on the machine how we are going to be attaching the straps that will act as our sleeve. Okay, so after attaching the channels, I've attached the channels on both sides. We're going to start the smoking, and then we'll do we'll finish off the armholes. Okay, so I think I'm going to be leaving about, let's say, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches for the folding, and I'm going to measure that on both sides, you know? So on the front and at the back, so that we can have space for folding or for hemming the top part. Okay, because you want it to be able to fold nicely. Okay, and then I'm just putting a mark at the back. So we're going to leave this top part without shearing. Okay, so the next thing is you need your shearing elastic. Okay, it looks like your normal thread, but it's actually an elastic, and because you don't want it to get stretched on the machine by winding it on the machine, you're just going to need to fill your bobbin by hand. Okay, because otherwise the thread might get too stretched. Okay, so you just wrap it until your bobbin is full. Don't pull it as you are winding this bobbin, but also don't allow it to be very loose. Okay, so we're going to roll this. When our bobbin is finished, we're going to go onto the machine. Okay, so I've gone on to wind my bobbin with a shearing elastic. So this is it. I know it comes in white and black, and I really felt bad after I saw this, because I forgot that I bought the white ones. I would have preferred using the white on this fabric I'm working with, but now I've already wound this one, so I'll just use black. So this is about 30 meters. I am not sure that it comes in other colors, Okay, so what you do is just place your bobbin the way you would normally thread your machine. That's how you're going to go about it. I'm going to use the white thread on top. Okay, okay, make sure that it's threaded properly. Okay, and then you go on to close your casing. You can try and run a sample before you actually go on your machine, so because you want to see if your tension is right. You might need to loosen the tension depending on the machine that you are using. Okay, so let's just do a test run here and see what happens. So you're going to be doing this on the right side of the fabric. Okay, Okay, so I've gone on to finish the ruching. Let me turn it to the right side so you can see how it looks like. Then I want to show you a few things. Okay, so this is how the ruching looks like. I did about 9 lines on both the front and the back. Okay, so this is how it looks like on both sides. So that's done. And then I also went on to attach the straps that will act as our sleeve, as you can see. Okay, and I used the bias to turn it on the inside because I wanted the finishing to look neat. This is how it looks like on the outside. Okay, so it's quite neat, you can see. And this is on the inside. So this one will be tying on the side. You can tie it however you wish. So I want to show you how I was able to attach that strap very quickly. Let me just get my bias. So as I was ruching, you will notice that I left some long straps of elastic by the side. So what you do is you want to tie this, because when you try to reverse at the beginning of this, you know this is elastic, it will kind of get caught up in your machine. So what you do is you leave some long strings of elastic at the edges, so you just tie those so that you don't have any chance of them undoing themselves. So I have the other strap. Let me just get my bias binding so that I show you. Okay, this is what I use so that the finishing is neat. Okay, so on the right side, because we're going to be doing this on the right side, so turn your blouse on your right side. And you're going to place your straps. Okay, so this is one of the straps that we have. So place it by the edge. Okay, I want this edge to point down. Okay, so place it by the edge, just where the ruching starts, like this. And then you're going to take your bias binding. Okay, so what I did was I folded it in like this, just to give it a neat finishing. And you're going to pin. You pin all the way around to the other side. Okay, and you're going to stitch on that fold. You see the fold of the bias, that's where you'll be stitching. So you start with there. This is after you finished tying these long threads and elastics, and then you chop off what you don't need. Okay, so you just go on to attach. I'm looking for the other strap. This is the other strap. You're also going to put it where your ruching starts. Remember, we left this 1.5 inch for folding. Okay, so you place it and you continue pinning. Okay, and then you're going to stitch on 1/2 inch. After you stitch, you're just going to flip it to the wrong side, pass the belt like that, and then stitch, catching the binding rather at the bottom there. And then you're going to stitch from this end up to the other end. Once that is done, the only thing that is left is folding. Okay, you can either do a fold 1, 2, but I'm deciding I want it to hold firmly at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold a little bit like this. Okay, and I'm going to stitch it all the way to the other side, and afterwards I'm going to be passing in the elastic so that it is firm by the chest area. But if you want, you can just do a fold and then you hem on both sides. Okay, so that is how we're going to finish up the top. And then I don't know if you can see, let me show you. I've gone on to feed the strap on the sides, okay, to form our ruching. So this is what it looks like. Okay, just fed it in with a pin, and I'm going to do the same on this side. Let me remove this. Okay, so it's just, I used the pin and I took our strap that we made and I just, okay, so I just took a pin, a safety pin, and then you just feed it into the drawstring. Remember we left those drawstrings, so you just feed it in like that. When it comes out here, you just channel it into the other channel, and our blouse will be done. Okay, so the top is finished. I was able to put the elastic. I was also able to attach my logo, but I like the overall look of the blouse, the ruching effect that we have on both sides, and you can tie it as you wish. Okay, so this you'll tie on the sleeve as your sleeve. Okay, so our blouse looks something like this. I'm just going to adjust the camera to see if you can just like see the entire piece. Okay, it looks really, really nice. I like the firmness on the shoulder. So I'm just going to raise it up. Okay, yeah, and yeah, okay, so this is what the blouse looks like. Very, very nice. Look at that ruching, look at that. So you can tie on the sleeves. Don't know how you want to tie it. Okay, and you can see the finishing, it's so neat. Okay, of course we've got our logo in there, and so this is our blouse. So I'll be very happy to see your own recreations of this. You can use any fabric. I would recommend cotton. You can see how, because it gives it some structure. It gives it structure, and if you want, you can wear it without the straps on the side, so it would be a longer top, and you can make it very ruched and adjust it as you wish. I think this would also do well for expectant mothers who are still carrying the bundles of joy. Okay, so thank you very much for watching until the end. I'm going to try the top on for you so that you can see how it looks, and looking forward to seeing your own recreations. I'll see you on our next video. Bye.